Okay, welcome to Faking a Road in regular AutoCAD, even though you see Civil 3D 2010 here. I have no idea whether this will work, but I keep on talking about the fact that you can do a lot of this that you can do in Civil 3D and other programs. We'll show you a little bit in SketchUp how to use the push tool and follow along a path, that said path being your center line. You know how to use Excel to figure out points, station, and offset. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a 3D poly and see if the sweep command will work. So I'm going to do a 3D poly from a dot XY of this point and an elevation of 1,000, right? And then I'm going to say at 500, angle 45, angle 5 degrees. That's going up in the space. And then I'm going to say from the dot XY to the dot XY of this, and I'm going to say, I don't know, 1100. Right? I've got now a 3D line there, a 3D poly, and we're now just going to make I'm going to make a pipe here, then we'll try it next time with a road. So I'm going to do a circle here I'll make my circle pretty big here, go across here and make it a space of maybe a circle of 4 foot in radius. It's kind of tiny, but I'm going to move that really close by to here, and we're going to then look at what the problems would be and what Civil 3D gets around. But very often you could take and move this thing, turn it, and get it to sweep through so it was actually perpendicular to that 3D polyline, to the axis of that 3D polyline. That 3D polyline could either be the spring line of a pipe or the invert line. The spring line is the center line of the pipe. And so let's just see if the command sweep will work. We're going to grab the objects to sweep. We're now going to find a base point, which is going to be the center of that thing. And then try it again. Sweep. Objects to sweep. Base point, center of that. And then the sweep path is right there. And look, it did it. So I'm going to see if I can do a V point 1, 1, 1. We can go zoom in here, do some shading. We'll have to see exactly what it did here, but it essentially made that pipe and it swept it all the way through. So extrude and sweep, they're a little nuanced, but you could have think about it, you could have done the same thing if you would have had separate, and we got a minute here, so we're going to try it anyway. You would have had separate basically templates or assemblies or just basically blocks that were put at 0, 0 or defined at 0, 0. So I'm going to do a couple of undos here. Let's try that with a road now. Instead of that, I'm going to make a roadway. I'm going to make my line from here at 12, comma, minus 0.24, at 4, comma, minus 0.16, and then at 8, comma, minus 2, at 2, comma, 0, at 8, comma, plus 3. And I am now going to try to sweep that along this same surface. I'm not going to even make it a polyline. I'll make those individual entities. We'll see how it works. Again, I just want to let you know that this is essentially what Civil 3D is doing. I guess I can mirror that across here from the center point or the end point, and F8, I forgot to hit copy, erase objects, no. Okay, so let's just see what happens if I do a sweep on those objects. Sweep, cross my objects, remove that one. Base point is going to be the center or the end of that. And then my sweep path is right there. V point 1, 1, 1, shade. I have made that road. So, just so you realize, I'm only chuckling here because, in fact, one is not going to do this in AutoCAD or in Civil 3D, but if you don't have Civil 3D and you have access to other programs, and we know of at least one person that is doing stuff like that out on the internet, who is working, and you want to work on some stuff at home, or you want to do all kinds of different stuff. Right there, it has some issues and some problems, but essentially it did essentially the same thing. You have to realize that when you are designing a road, what you need to do is keep track of your horizontal proposed, your vertical proposed, your assemblies, right, which is essentially your typical cross sections, and where then they transition from one thing to the other. I've mentioned before that you can do a lot of this stuff just as fast. It's not as good, but this stuff's pretty good stuff we got right here. I'm going to go ahead and do visual style and give it a visual styles. Visual styles. Got to put that on. And I'm going to pop that up to there, and I'm going to go with a conceptual one. There I go. Let me try this one, wireframe. Color, realistic. It's popping back up. So you start to see that this pretty much, who knows what it did around the turns, but this pretty much what we did what it asked. It's not perfect, I'll point out, but we've got some, it's pretty close to perfect. It's got a little overlap here, it looks like, when it did this, put it through, and so we'll have to play around. This essentially is a tool that one can use to do a quick one-off if you have a 3D poly. Remember, lines can have 3D elevation. Endpoints can have different elevations. Polylines cannot, but 3D polys can. And so as you start to try to take some of these skills that you have in Civil 3D and expand them out to a wider world, whether it be civil, whether it be architectural, whether it be conceptual, you have to start keeping track of what actually is going on in the program. And again, you're going to start realizing why these rules of keeping things in the right spot, either in your normal planar coordinate system like State Plane Central, or in the coordinate system that we define for profile information, station elevation times 10. You'll see why as you progress through the rest of the 2 semesters. We're trying to make you resilient for the new economy. A large part of that will be transportation, but so will other things we have not yet dreamed of. Thanks for listening. We'll do that in SketchUp as well, but we're going to put this one out as it is and see if you can kind of follow along. You just made a 3D poly and you use the sweep command. Thanks for listening.